What's good, YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and we are back with another fight breakdown. This Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live on Showtime, we're getting a fight between Brandon Figueroa and Mark Magsayo, and they're going to be facing each other for the WBC featherweight title at 126, the interim title, which was once held by Ray Vargas, but he moved up to 130 to face Shacky Foster for the WBC title up at 130. All right, that fight already went down a few weeks back. But these guys are going to be facing each other, and it should be a great fight. Again, and I've been saying this for the last few weeks, I know we haven't gotten the super fights with some of the bigger names in the boxing, but every weekend we've been getting like really, really good fights every weekend. Not with the biggest names, but these matchups are matchups where they could be fight of the year type matchups. So if you're not really familiar with these guys, definitely watch this fight. They have similar resumes. They got common opponents. All right. They're around the same age. They have the same amount of fights. And they both stop people. They just do it a little differently. And we're going to break it down. But I am expecting a stoppage to go down in this fight. So let's talk about it. All right. Like I said, these two similar records. All right. Both have 25 professional fights. Brandon Figueroa has 23 wins with 18 stoppages and only one defeat, and he has one draw. Mark Magsayo, on the other hand, he has 24 wins with 16 knockouts, right? And only one loss, all right? Only one loss. And both of them recently suffered their losses. One was a majority decision loss for Brandon Figueroa against Stephen Fulton, who is one of the top fighters in the game right now. Not very disputable loss, by the way. A lot of people felt that Figueroa won that fight. And you got Mark Magsayo, who lost to, who did he lose to? He beat Gary Russell Jr., and then he recently lost to Ray Vargas last fall, I believe, before Ray moved up to 130, all right? So that was his first loss. Now, they do have a common opponent, and that's Julio Cesar. Julio Cesar, he's a tough, rugged fighter, volume puncher, heavy-handed puncher, and both of these fighters beat Ceja, but it was a different fight for both, an extremely different fight. Mark Magsayo came out fast, was able to drop Ceja. You know, Ceja has lost before, he's been stopped before, but he's always given tough fights. For the big ones, Julio Ceja just never won the big fights. Okay, he lost to Guillermo Rigondeaux, he lost to Mark Magsayo, he lost to Brandon Figueroa. Just never won the big fights, but he was either winning the fight at some point, or it was also like a disputable loss or whatever like that. When he fought Mark Magsayo, he got dropped early in the fight, but he started picking up the pace, started outworking Mark Magsayo, started destroying Magsayo's body. He knocked Magsayo down, was having great success in the fight, and then he got caught with a huge shot and got knocked completely out cold, laid out. I think I was on live doing commentary for that fight. I can't remember what undercard it was. And then you had Brandon Figueroa, who also faced him, all right? Brandon was in a war with Ceja. Ceja threw just as many, if not more, punches than Brandon. But the difference was Ceja was heavier-handed, seemed to be a little bit more effective to the body. It ended up being a draw, okay? Some people think Ceja edged out the fight. It really depends on how you score the rounds. You know, when two guys are just punching each other, one has 1,200 punches, the other has 1,300 total punches, it's really hard to call at that point. I'm not mad at that draw, all right? But a different outcome in the fight. But do not base everything on that fight, because it's always about the style. Don't go by the triangle theory or any theory. You just got to look at how the fighters fight and how they look against different opponents, okay? They both have shown flaws in different fights. I think they both can be outboxed, all right? Brandon Figueroa out of the two. He's 26 years old. Mark is 27. He is the volume puncher of the two, okay? He has more knockouts between the two, and their 25 fights. He has 18 knockouts. So he's a little bit higher in percentage. But Brandon outworks you. He beats you just outworking you. Too much, too many punches, too many shots to the body. No space, no time. He's just gonna keep throwing punches. He can easily throw over 100 punches in a round. Easy, no problem. A lot of jabs, a lot of awkward angles. He switches from southpaw to orthodox throughout the entire fight. Not the greatest defense. Definitely there to get hit. But his offense is his defense. He likes to smother you. All right. He likes to be all on your chest in a high guard, all on your chest. No room given. Okay. He knows how to cut the ring off, which is a big deal. As much of a mover as you can be, he knows how to cut you off. Okay. He has a granite chin. He's taken a lot of punches from guys like Luis Neri at 122, who was a big puncher, still stopping guys. Just wasn't enough. All right. He has a great chin. And if you can't take him out, you got to have to deal with him for 12 rounds. Yes, he did go to 12 rounds with Ceja, but it took a guy like Ceja, who was tough, who could match him in punch output to go the distance from him. And the other loss was against Stephen Fulton, one of the most technically advanced boxers out there. Great defensive fighter. Knows how to hold his own in the inside. And he's great at creating, he knows distance well. All right. Knows how to fight behind a jab. Good counter puncher. And knows how to work on the inside. He's held this own against Brandon Figueroa on the inside, Angelo Leo on the inside. He's fought guys in those type of fights where he had to really sit in the pocket and hold his own on the inside. He's done that. So it took those kind of fights for Brandon to really struggle in. But outside of those fights, he's dominant. He's always outworking everybody and stopping everybody. He's been stopping fighters. Now, he hasn't been at 126 for long. He's only moved up and fought one fight there. He fought Carlos Castro there. Solid opponent, very solid opponent. He was able to stop him in the 6th round. Before moving up, though, he had fought Stephen Fulton. They was going to have a rematch at 126. But Fulton decided to keep his titles down at 122. And he's going to be facing Naoya Inoue soon. And a unification match at 122, which is one of the best fights that could be made in boxing right now. All right, which I'm happy for. Great with the rematch and all that. Wouldn't be a bad rematch at all, but I want to see the Inoue fight more. So we have this fight here. So Brandon Figueroa is basically the guy that's just going to be on your chest. All right, he doesn't want space. He doesn't want any space in between because that's where he loses. That's where he loses on point. That's when he's getting outboxed, okay, because he doesn't have the great defense. So he's going to be smothering you, all right? He wants to keep you on the ropes. He doesn't want you moving. But when you are moving, he knows how to cut off the ring. He knows how to trap you. He knows how to keep you exactly where you want to be. And once you're less mobile, you're pretty much done, because most likely you're not going to throw more punches in. And Mark is not that kind of guy. He's not a volume puncher, all right? He's a boxer puncher, very explosive. You know what I'm saying? But he's not as technically sound as a Stephen Fulton. Okay? He's more of a power guy. He's knocking guys out. He's very quick, moves well, very quick, but he's just guy quick, likes the pot shot, likes to counter with big shots like uppercuts. He wants to catch you with one shot, hurt you, and then get you out of there. He's that kind of guy. And when you look at Mark, he lost to Ray Vargas in his last fight. I remember covering the fight, and this will be I think this will be my third breakdown on Mark Magsayo. Maybe the third breakdown, or maybe the fourth, at least the fourth fight that I've covered of him. When I think of Mark, like I said, very explosive, quick hands. All right, not the most technically sound fighter. I don't think he's poor on defense. I think he's better on defense probably than Brandon Figueroa. But like I've said in other videos, in the Gary Russell breakdown that I did, also on the Ray Vargas breakdown that I did, Mark Magsayo has one major flaw, and he keeps doing it with every fight. and he has like a rhythm bounce. Every time before he does anything, whether, he's just in the shuffle or he's just coming out of an exchange or right before he goes back into throwing a punch or doing anything, whatever he does, he always bounces 2 to 3 times first. So even when he's getting pressured, if you go in a Julio Ceja fight where he's getting pressured heavy, yes, he won the fight. But let's talk about the rounds he was losing. Even while getting pressured, he would not stop bouncing. And you can tell that fighters know how to time him. He's going to bounce 2 to 3 times first before he throws a punch or before he does anything. He's going to do it. He can't stop himself from doing it. Even when he's trapped against the ropes, I still seen him doing it again. It's like you can't unsee it. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen him still doing it as recent as the loss to Ray Vargas. It's like a flaw that he needs to work on. And when you're fighting a guy like a Brandon Figueroa, we already see how he looked against another pressure fighter and Julio Ceja. But now Brandon is better. Even though Brandon drawed with Ceja, Brandon is proven better. He's been fighting better fighters, and he has won against better fighters. Brandon is better. Brandon is nonstop. Maybe not one punch knockout power like a Magsayo or a Ceja or anything like that. Maybe not as heavy-handed, but he's better at keeping that pressure and staying on top of fighters that need space. Even Stephen Fulton, as good as he moves, he's an amazing mover, all right? He knows how to keep the distance. Even him couldn't get away for Figueroa all fight long. He did a good job early on, but as the rounds went on, he had to deal with Figueroa on inside, and I'm pretty sure that they trained and prepared to fight 12 rounds of him with his back against the ropes. He knew how to handle himself there. But defensively, he knew how to protect himself. Mark Magsayo has shown me that he can gas in certain fights. He doesn't have the greatest conditioning. He can get outworked. He can also get outboxed. Gary Russell Jr., who came into that fight with a shoulder injury and injured it very early in that fight, was still able to have a very competitive, some say debatable, but I don't think it was really debatable. I think Gary did lose the fight, but the fight shouldn't have been nearly as competitive as it was, being that you're fighting a fighter that's fighting with you with one arm. All right? So with that being said, Mark Magsayo, solid boxer, but his main strength is his speed and his power. All right? The problem is that you couldn't make an argument that he's kind of one-dimensional. He can catch you with big shots coming in, right? I think his biggest shot, and if he is going to hurt and stop Brandon Figueroa or at least drop him, it would be that uppercut. Brandon Figueroa, the way he comes in with his head low, trying to close the gap, the distance between these fighters that's normally moving against him, he can walk right into one of those uppercuts. So if there's a knockout of Figueroa, if we ever see him get hurt or see him get dropped, it will be from that punch. Mark Magsayo got a crazy lead left hook too. All right, that's another shot you got to worry about. These one shots from Mark Magsayo are painful and can easily put you out. But as far as round by round scoring, using jabs and just racking up points, you're not going to see it from Mark. There's no way he's going to throw or land as nearly as Brandon does, because he just doesn't have the punch output and he doesn't have the defense neither to not get hit. He's solid. He's probably better than Brandon. He's not as aggressive. Yes, he could fight on the back foot and set traps and stuff and counter pretty good, but a lot of it is going to be based on his power. And once Figueroa close in on him, it's over. He's going to have to land something heavy early, and I think his biggest strengths and his best rounds in this fight are the early rounds. The first couple rounds, if Figueroa is able to get within his space with ease, at will, whenever he wants, it's over. If Mark's back is on the ropes, it's over. But if Mark can time him with a good shot as he comes in, maybe not right away, but you catch him with a big enough shot to keep him like in a space where he respects your power and he doesn't want to disengage as freely as he's used to doing, you can possibly win some rounds, without having to actually outthrow him. But if Figueroa is pushing you up against the ropes, you know what I'm saying? If he has you there for 2 minutes out of the 3 minutes of every round at least, you're gonna be in trouble. You don't want to be there. You know why? Because it's tiring. You're taking punishment, and most importantly, you're gonna be taking body shots, which Figueroa is made for. We've seen you get dropped with a body shot with Seha. In fact, you didn't just get dropped, but you were getting punished. It was like looking at Keith Thurman in there when he was trying to, flee and run around the ring and avoid those body shots because he got hurt. Mark Magsayo was getting beaten and he had no answer for it for a while. Luckily for him, he had the power to turn the fight around when he did. All right. But Figueroa is a different fighter, and Figueroa is much more durable. Seha always got knocked out when he lost fights. He always got knocked out. Okay. Figueroa, we haven't even seen him really get hurt like that. And he's fought punchers. Okay. I know Mark is probably naturally bigger because he's been fighting at featherweight, but Figueroa might be stronger at featherweight now that he doesn't have to drain himself. We only seen one fight against a solid opponent, but he might even be better at 126 without having to be focused on making weight at 122. All right. Figueroa is also taller, and I believe he has the longer reach too. Okay. He might not be as fast. He might not be as explosive. He might not have the one punch knockout power that Mark Magsayo does, but he knows how to wear you down and just take over and win rounds by punch output. Okay. And punches landed too. So where am I going with this fight? I'm expecting a knockout. I think there's a chance it goes to a decision based on if and it's a big if, Brandon can't consistently, like Brandon gets hit with a shot or a few shots hard enough to make him not want to engage in a pressure on a level that he's used to doing. I don't think he's respected anyone's power enough to make him slow down. That's the only way I can see it going to a decision. I can see Mark not stopping Brandon because I know Brandon can take a punch. But as far as Brandon winning, and if it does go to decision, I'm definitely leaning towards Brandon. But the way, like, if you're betting, I'm putting money down on Brandon to win by KO. Okay? And I'm hedging it, throwing a little bit in there for Mark because Mark does have a huge puncher's chance. My actual pick, though, is Brandon to win by knockout. That's where I'm putting my money on. Because Brandon Figueroa, he's made for fighters like this. Mark needs space. He's not a master at controlling distance. He's not nearly as good as a Stephen Fulton. He's not nearly on that level. And when I look at Mark's resume, it's not just Julio Cesar there. All right. I also went back and saw some of the fight with Rigoberto Hermosillo. Okay. That's a fight that also went to a split decision. And if you watch that fight, you will see. Don't look at this score. There's a judge that have it 100-90. It was a 10-round fight. Go and watch that fight. All right. That fight was against another fighter he has 4 losses. But Hermosillo has never been stopped. Another guy that was a pressure fighter that didn't respect Mark Magsayo's power, and he kept the pressure on him all fight long. All right. When I see those fights, when I see Magsayo struggle in fights like that against him, struggle against Julio Cesar, getting outworked by Ray Vargas, who is not actually a pressure fighter. He's a boxer, but Ray Vargas liked to let his hands go. Okay? So when I look at those 3 fights, and then I think of Brandon Figueroa and his style, it's just gonna be too much. And Brandon's gonna dig to his body. And Magsayo, who needs space, who needs to hurt you in order to win, in my opinion, on this level. He needs to hurt you to make the fight competitive. I just don't think he has enough. And I don't think he can do anything to keep Brandon off of him. You know, again, he would have to really hurt him. And Brandon, you know, Brandon is one of the best chins in this sport. You know, he's made to go like this. Brandon only loses to guys or struggles against guys that can match his volume or completely outbox him. You know, those are the guys he struggled with. Mark Magsayo, big puncher. Yes, he has a puncher's chance, and I'm going to put a little bit money on him getting a KO. Maybe he stops Brandon. Maybe he hurts Brandon early and gets him out of there. You know, I think if Mark wins, it'll be by a knockout. Yes, he's dangerous, and I know he knocked out Sayar later in the fight. But the longer the fight goes, the slower he's going to get, and the more abuse he's going to take with every round. There's not going to be any dry spots from Brandon. He's going to keep coming. And I am predicting Brandon to have him against the ropes and attacking his body nonstop. And Brandon is just going to stop based mainly off exhaustion. He's going to get punched. He's going to get knocked down. And the referee's going to step in and wave his arm. And there's going to be a TKO. Because Mark is not going to be able to stop him, especially with that bounce that he always do. He needs space before he goes. He has good timing with the counters, but if he can't knock out Brandon with that, Brandon's gonna just run right through him. All right. So I'm expecting Brandon to get a stoppage here. If I had to pick a round, I do think the fight is going to go a good while. You know, I don't think Magsayo is going to just get destroyed. So I think it's going to go a good amount of rounds. Like, I'm thinking like maybe like 8 or 9 rounds. Okay. But I have Brandon Figueroa by stoppage. I'm going to hedge a little bit with Mark Magsayo by KO. But it should be a great fight for the amount of time it lasts. And yeah, so I'm not expecting to do commentary. I'm not going to be home Saturday night. But, of course, if I can pull up, I will to do commentary. You know how I do. I might say sometimes, yo, I'm not going to do it. But if I can, I will be here. But I won't be here Saturday. All right. So, anyway, please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Smash that like button if you like the video. Share the video on your social media platforms. And follow me on social media as well at Boxingwave 10. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.